All right. In three, two. Well, welcome back to Toyota Sports Talk. The Paris Summer Olympics are quickly approaching, and not a surprise, this DMV region is sending a lot of local Olympians over to Paris and a lot of different sporting events. Surprisingly, and I couldn't believe it, but here in this region, we have three fencers on the U.S. Olympic team. One of them joining us right now, Tatiana Nazlymov from Bethesda, Maryland, went to Georgetown Day School and currently is at Princeton University. She is going to be competing in the individual and team events for women's sabre and fencing at the Paris Olympics. First-time Olympian Tatiana. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
How does that feel? You're 19 years old. I mean, and you're going to the Olympics. What is that like?
I mean, it's definitely a lot. Definitely going to be one of the youngest people out there in the field, but actually one of my USA teammates is younger than me. She's the youngest. She's 18. So I'm not the baby of the team.
That's amazing. I mean, to have that moment, what was that like to qualify? Obviously, you had to go through competition and earn your spot. And when you realized that moment that you made the team, what was that like? Take me back to that, Tatiana.
Yeah, so for fencing, we had multiple competitions all year, 6 or 7 competitions that decided who makes the Olympic team. Top 3 go individually, the fourth goes at the alternate. And all year I was tracking fourth. So I was tracking as the alternate. And at my last World Cup in Belgium, I did really well. Like I beat my opponent that I needed to beat to get to third. So I was just really relieved when I beat this girl from Hungary, and that sealed my place on the Olympic team as third.
So my question was, I know the answer because I did some research, but I know our viewers are wondering, how did you get into fencing? How did this all happen?
Yeah, so my grandfather is actually a 3-time Olympic champion, big shoes to fill. So he's what got me into fencing, somewhat of a fencing family. Yeah.
So you have your own fencing gym in the area?
In Bethesda. Yep.
Yeah. So you basically grew up with, it's called, what is it, Sabre? Is that what it's called? So what has it been like kind of learning fencing from an Olympic champion?
Yeah, so when I was younger, I learned from my grandfather, and as I got older, my dad started coaching me because he was also a fencer. And like a lot of people say the parent relationship doesn't work. You can't be a dad and a coach, but we figured it out. We made it happen. So
So you're an Olympian. What's this going to be like representing your country, wearing the red, white, and blue? How much pride do you have with that, Tatiana?
a lot, a lot. I've been to a few world championships, and although I haven't been on the podium, every time we hear, the USA anthem going in the background, it makes me very patriotic. So
So explain to our viewers what you're going to be doing in Paris. Like what events? Kind of explain that to us because I know probably a lot of viewers are unfamiliar with fencing.
yeah, so on July 29th, I fence in the individual event. So there's going to be a little more than 30 competitors, and it's a direct elimination. So kind of like March Madness bracket.
Yep.
It's just a bracket. So number 1 fences 32, 2 fences 31, all the way to the finals. And then on August 3rd, we also have a team event. So there's going to be 9 teams about USA, Italians, French, and the best team will win.
Do
Hopefully
you,
it's USA.
do you know your seating in that bracket for the individual yet?
Yeah, so we are gonna be 5 or 6. Sometimes they flip-flop the tableau the day
Is
before
that for team or individual?
for team, for
Okay.
team.
What about individual? Do you know what your?
Individually, we don't know yet.
Okay.
We have one more competition coming up in Lima this coming week.
Okay. That's right. Cat told me that. And in
Yeah.
terms of um, going there for the experience versus the balance of wanting to do well, maybe win a medal, like, is there a balance? How do you do that in terms of you're a first time Olympian? You want to take it all in, but it's also a business trip.
Right. For sure. I mean, I've heard from past Olympians, we have a lot of really accomplished fencers working with us, just showing us the ropes because we're all first time Olympians. And it's going to be hectic. It's going to be crazy. They say the opening ceremony is so long, it's crazy, but at the end of the day, we are there for the fencing. So we're going to work hard, play hard is the goal.
What are you looking forward to most about having this your first experience of being an Olympian?
Me personally, I think the most exciting thing is gonna be just like being in the village, seeing all these other athletes, most of whom I only see on TV. They're like crazy, well accomplished athletes. The basketball team, US basketball team, that's going to be super exciting. So,
Um, I mentioned it at the top. 3 fencers on this U.S. Olympic team are from this region. That
yes.
that impressed me. Explain that a little bit, how kind of unique that is.
I mean, so Kat is from the DMV and also Hadley Husissian. And actually, all of us are at Princeton right now, which is also, such a small world. It's a fencing powerhouse for sure. And we are different disciplines. Sorry, my dog in the
That's
background.
okay. That's all
But
right.
different disciplines. They are both epee. I'm saber, but DC's not a huge fencing area, to be honest. Like it's mainly New York is the powerhouse, but we're on the up and up. We're on
A-
the up and
And that's another part. You're representing your country, but you're also representing this DMV region. Like, how much
yeah.
pride do you have because all the family, the friends, the coaches in this region that helped you get to this point?
A lot. It's great. I wrote to some of my old teachers in high school who let me miss a lot of school, and obviously old teachers are writing like
Yeah.
congratulations, just a lot of friends and family, and it's really nice to just have people supporting me in the area.
I mean, it's special in a way because like your competitive foundation was laid here, right? Explain that.
You mean just like how I got in it?
Yeah, I mean, you learned the sport like here, like this is the home, right? I mean, this is where it all started.
Yeah, yeah, and this is where it's hopefully not coming to an end, but
Yeah.
bringing me to great things such as the Olympics. So
Ha- have you allowed yourself to visualize maybe getting on that medal stand in Paris? Like, do you think about that?
obviously, I think about it. Who doesn't? But for me, since I'm such a newbie coming in, I find it easier not to put pressure on myself. You need to win. You need to get a medal. You need to do this. I typically do better when I don't set high expectations for myself, which is how I've, functioned throughout the whole season and what I continue to do training for Paris. I just focus on the process, I focus on my training, and we'll see how it goes.
Now they're called bouts. Is that correct? When
Yes. Yeah.
so
A bout or a match.
so how do you make these Olympic matches, Olympic bouts, like any other? Like, how do you not allow like the pressure cooker atmosphere of being on the Olympic stage? How do you almost like dumb it down and make it be like any other practice match or bout? Is that possible?
Um, Obviously you can think about it that way, and it's a very big mental aspect at the end of the day because the 30 competitors who are going to be at the Olympics, I've been competing with them for the past 3 years. I know all of them. They all know me. So it's not new people. There's nothing new. It's just a higher stage. So whoever can tune out all the rah, 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 the
Mhm.
best is going to win.
To have your family and friends, I assume your family's going over. What is that going to be like to share this experience with them because they sacrificed a lot for you to get there?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I just want to make them proud. But aside from fencing, we're also turning it into a little family vacation. I finish on the 3rd. We're going to do some sightseeing, Paris.
Have you ever been to Paris before?
I have, but only for a day. Most of
Yeah.
our competitions are in Orléans, France. So I've never, got to really spend some time in Paris, which I'm excited for.
Like, has this been a dream of yours? Like, you grew up fencing, and obviously the highest probably standard for fencing is to be an Olympian. When did you start dreaming about maybe one day being an Olympian?
Honestly, it always seemed out of reach to me. My coach and my father were always very supportive. They'd be like, when you make the national team, they would use these statements, when we're going to the Olympics. And 3 years ago, if you told me I was going to the Olympics, I'd be like, what are you talking about? I'm just trying to get recruited to college. But I think the faith that my coach and my team behind me has had in me is one of the big reasons I made it to where I am.
So you're 19. I go back to that. I mean, there can't be a lot of 19-year-olds on this U.S. Olympic team in any sport, right? I mean, do you feel like you're going to be one of the youngest there?
Um, Probably, yeah. I definitely feel like a newbie, like a baby, but I think that's also my advantage. I have nothing to lose. So,
What I mean, how that's got to be like you should be proud of yourself. Like you're 19 years old, you're in the Olympic Games, you're with the U.S. Olympic team. That's got to be just one of the coolest things ever.
Yeah, yeah. And honestly, I really like the fact that I'm younger. In one of my past competitions this season, I had to go against a really strong girl from Spain who was top 10 in the world. And I looked at her, her history, her bouting history. She started competing before I was even born. So for me, I was like, well, there's really nothing to lose here. She has experience, but I have surprise factor, I guess.
And you bring up a good point. Like, there's really no pressure on you. You're gonna go there with house money in a sense, like nothing to lose.
Exactly.
How can that maybe help you in this type of a situation where you don't feel the pressure of somebody that's in their 30s or in their late 20s of they don't know how much longer they're gonna fence for.
Right. I think I definitely do have an edge. And historically, if we look at the past few Olympics, the number one seed doesn't like rarely wins for fencing. Aside from a few exceptions, but it's always somebody who was like, oh, like where did they come from? They just had a good day, and all of a sudden they're on the podium, they're winning. And the people who are ranked number one, they've dedicated their lives to this 4 years, 8 years. They don't know if they have another 4 years in them. There's a lot to consider. So.
Great stuff. I'll be watching fencing in Paris. I can't wait. Tatiana Nazlymov, 19 years old, Georgetown Day School grad, Bethesda, Maryland native. Tatiana, good luck to you. Enjoy the experience. We'll be watching.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, much more to come right here on Toyota Sports Talk. Stay with us.